All right. It is Wednesday. It's a busy Wednesday in here for First Alert Weather. Hopefully that is all past us by now. It was pretty bad when you came in, right?
Yeah, driving in a
Driving?
few cells, but hey, it rains. You know,
Rains.
this is not the end of the world. It rains.
Hopefully we will not have rain come the third Saturday in October. That is when we will have a night game at Michigan State against in-state rivals Michigan.
I think that was the big story, frankly, today. It's all I've heard from anybody talking about on the first day of the two-day Big Ten football media days. Tucker spoke. He was one of 7 coaches who spoke today. But this is the 51st year. So I've been on the air 53. So I'm aware of all of them. And there's one central theme. Everybody's got a good team. Everybody's players are looking great. We got a great staff. Our players are we're all excited to go. So all that's, and the Tucker was no different.
Right.
So what came out of it factually is that, it wasn't formally announced, but from the media insiders that were there, NBC Channel 10's getting the Michigan State game at night. That'll be 4 night games. And I don't ever remember Michigan State playing 4 night football games in the same season, and 3 of them are against their big opponents, Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, plus Central Michigan to begin the year. Also, they have a 5 o'clock game with Washington and 2 3:30 games, one with Richmond and one with Maryland. So there's 7 starting times of the 12, and none of them at the moment are at noon.
Is that
If you're
a
from
benefit?
if you're from out of the area, you get home late. However, you don't have to get up at dawn for a noon kickoff.
It also could help the economy with hotel rooms, possibly.
Well,
Detroit, the Ford Field game, right?
usually a home football weekend here, like anywhere in the Big Ten, people are on hand regardless of when the game starts. Michigan State have never played a night game in East Lansing, but they have played games in East Lansing that have finished in the dark.
Okay.
They've kicked off at 4 late in the year, and the game ends at 7:15 or 30, and it's dark. So the lights come on at like halftime, but that is not considered per se a night game.
Right.
Michigan had night game. Well, last year with the tunnel in Ann Arbor, prime time with the tunnel, and 2017. Those 2 were night games, but they were in Ann Arbor. Most schools don't like night games, because you've got more people warmed up for the game over a longer period of time during the day. It's much more difficult for security personnel to get people off campus at that time, and I'm not sure they're fully fit to drive safely. And you got however 1,000 many people late at night traveling, not in the daytime, and and you got security issues all day long because those tailgates go longer. In a noon game, you don't have a whole lot of time to tailgate, and then you're going to be out of there at 3:30 or thereabout.
And as of right now, you can't drink alcohol, liquor, wine during the game.
That could
Unless you're in a
change.
suite.
I mean,
Right.
that may change, but State's marquee games, 5 o'clock with Washington on September 16th. October 21st, that's Halloween season.
Oh, yeah.
So you might get, cold. Usually the
Might get snow.
home team crowd is just so revved up. Part of the issue there is going to be what are the records of these teams going into that game. When the team's playing well, the bandwagon explodes. Now, look, for the Michigan game in East Lansing, it's a big deal every single, because it only comes every 2 years. And now you're putting the game at night. Most fans won't like that. They'd rather play, because you got to wait all day.
Right. It's
I tell you what, though, State's players are going to have to get used to playing at odd times. There's no question about it. And playing at night in Columbus, I mean, that's a toughie.
It is.
And I heard the Penn State coach today, Franklin, they asked him about playing State at Ford Field. Well, of course he's all for it. He says it gives us a level playing field, meaning if you play in Spartan Stadium, we're the road team, and we could have just about as many, if not more, fans from Penn State in Ford Field, again, depending on Penn State's record. Because Thanksgiving weekend, people are off.
Right.
You know it's going to be good weather because you're playing inside. You could be playing for something. They could drive in 5 hours or whatever from Penn State for that. So, of course, he likes it inside. That doesn't mean he's going to win, but he'd rather take his chances inside at Ford Field than he would in Spartan Stadium. They've struggled here late in the year.
And the Washington game, 5 o'clock, that helps with the Washington fans on the West Coast, too.
Well, for their team, 3 time zones away, they're playing at 2 o'clock, so it's a natural afternoon game. If that would have been a noon game here, they would have been thinking in their mind or whatever, we're playing at 9 o'clock in the morning. So, look, I think it's different with every player and every circumstance, but playing at 5 o'clock for them, to me, is not going to be a big time adjustment.
We do have a note with the weather in Michigan today. We just had storms come through mid-Michigan. It is now in the Metro Detroit area. We want to make a note that the Tigers-Angels game has been postponed, and there will be a doubleheader tomorrow.
You could have hit better than Shohei Ohtani did last night.
I did, actually. You should have seen me with my tennis racket yesterday.
I mean, he looked like he was up there swinging one. He went 0 for 3. He scored twice because they walked him twice. But, man, did he swing at some bad pitches. I think sometimes, even if you're a great player and you just day after day, travel after travel, flight after flight, city after city, and a lot is expected from you, it wears you down. Although that was another bizarre game because the Angels nearly blew a 6-2 lead in the 9th inning and had to go 10 innings to win it. Now, I say that, and Ohtani's rained out, so he gets a day to rest. So they have a natural doubleheader at 1:10 tomorrow. Watch him go 7 for 9, driving about 50 runs, hit 3 home runs. But you know what? They'll have a better crowd. The crowd tomorrow, there's going to be big. You get 2 games for the price of 1.
Yeah.
The Thursday crowd would have been big anyway. And it's what they call a natural doubleheader. The second game starts 40 minutes after the first game.
I love those. So much more for your money, since you're already spending so much as it is.
Well, I mean, do you need a meal for both games, or can you get by between games, or how's it going to work?
Depends on what you're eating. You want the Coney pizza?
I don't know. The Angels have better players than what they show. Did you see the center fielder screw up the ball out in the outfield in the 9th inning? Man, oh man. And if the ball wouldn't have bounced over the fence for a ground rule double, it would have ended the game there because the Tigers would have been able to come all the way around and win 7-6. But the ground rule double prevented the guy from scoring, so it was a tie. And then the Angels scored in the 10th.
There's been a few weird games at Comerica Park, I feel like, this year, more so than usual.
Got a 46-55 record, 101 down, 61 to go, and it looks like the weather tomorrow is good, so you can go out and watch him. I hope he makes contact tomorrow. If you're the best hitter in baseball and you're going to be a half a billionaire with the next contract, I guess you need to put 1 or 2 in play.
I remember that. I saw A-Rod's last game at Comerica Park, and they walked him, and I was not happy.
Yeah, I mean, well, they pitched to he swung at a lot of bad pitches. Well, I mean, I watched him. I was hooked. And boy, did Bally Sports Detroit have technical issues last night. I thought around here and in other stations, technical issues were a way of life. They said it was a power failure for both feeds out to the West Coast into Detroit. And then when they got the picture up, the audio was all, they didn't get it going until the 7th inning. It's one of those days.
Oof. That's why I listen on the radio.
So there you go.
That's why you do it. Anything else coming up? I know you and Freddie are in there working on.
Well, we'll
some
hear
Big
from the
Ten media
Northwestern
stuff.
interim coach who spoke today. They're in a tough predicament. Harbaugh's tomorrow. The new commissioner of the Big Ten says they're not necessarily anxious to add schools, quickly. They got to get Southern Cal and UCLA integrated next year into a format for all the sports. So this was he was hired April 12th, so this is his first media day. They all say a lot of the same things, frankly. The hot story today was the Michigan State game is going to be a night game.
All right. Well, we've got that story on our website.
We got Tucker. You'll hear him. You're not going to hear anything earth-shattering.
I believe
he's going to tell you he likes his team. He's going to tell you they're motivated. He's going to tell you they all come together. He's going to tell you they got a sense of resolve after all. You can just about guess what he's going to say. If you've seen these things enough. Now, tomorrow Harbaugh's going to get asked all about the suspension, and he'll dodge that. He's the artful dodger in a lot of interviews, but that's what he's going to get asked tomorrow morning.
They have to ask it.
On the Big Ten Network.
I do want to note that this upcoming night game between Michigan and Michigan State, going into this, they're tied with night games. 1-1, both, like you said, in Ann Arbor. This is going to be the 116th matchup overall.
Michigan dominates the series because
I have
they
it
did
right
early
here.
on.
72, 83, and 5 as of last year's win in Ann Arbor.
You mean 72-38?
That's what I said. right? Sure.
It said 83.
It's been a very long day, Tim.
Too much weather.
Too much weather. This is probably about my 9th live stream today. But that is what we have. And don't forget, that game will be on WILX right here, October 21st. So Tim and Fred will have more sports coming up at 6 o'clock and 11.
Yep.
Other than that, you can
All
go
right.
get your coffee that I'm sure is done brewing by now.
Yep.
Thanks for watching.
Yep.